Boom, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. For those that's new to the show, we got a lot of new followers this week. We do this every Tuesday and Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to the Kenny Parker Show. Um, Spook Realm 4Q, you are, once again, number one. Um, let's see, let's jump right into the PSA. If you are not a jive ass turkey from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, pick up the book. My brother's name is Kenny, The True Origin Story of BDP. The link is in the description below. It's the real story, not the press release, not bits and pieces, the whole tale. The link is in the description below. My nose is itching today. Um, Also, please hit the thumbs up if you get a chance. It helps the algorithm and it helps more like minded people find the channel. And last but not least, big up to the Rewind crew who's going to check this out later on. All right, let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see. Rosmel, what up? Henry Cedillo, what up? B-Ball Jonesin, what's up? RIP to Los Angeles Lakers legend. Basketball, Kobe Bryant, yesterday was a 6-year anniversary since he passed away. A tragic day in basketball history. A tragic day in all of sports history. Shocking. Um, yes, rest in peace to Kobe Bean Bryant, who I have as the number 2 greatest basketball player of all time, in my opinion. And his 81 points, there's an anniversary to that too, stands as one of the most incredible feats in the history of basketball. Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points still stands as the mark for the most points ever scored in a game. But Wilt Chamberlain, who was great, uh, had a huge size advantage over his opponents. Not that big, but he was 7'1" when most centers were probably like 6'9", 6'10". So he was a tremendous athlete with a huge athletic advantage. Kobe Bryant was basically the same height as everybody else on the court. Now, Wilt didn't have the luxury of the three-pointer, although he probably wouldn't have shot any. And Kobe had the luxury of the three-pointer, but that 81-point game, I remember cutting on the TV. He had about 50 something when I cut the television on. So I caught like the last 30 something points. Ridiculous, ridiculous uh, performance. And I think he is probably, pound for pound, the most skilled basketball player ever. Okay, let us move on. Um, Jermaine J. Woo 72, what up? New Haven, Connecticut. I see you asked about Sly and Robbie. I will talk about Sly in a second. Um, Bebo Jones says, I hate to tell y'all that it's 60 degrees here in the Yay area. Well, congratulations, B-Ball. It's 15 right now in New York, and it's going to go down into the single digits. And it's going to be in the single digits. The lows are going to be in the single digits uh, for at least a week. We are in the freezer, and it snowed. It's terrible. Um, I'm gonna try to move quick so I don't fall too far behind. Danelle the Don Freeman. Uh, this is interesting. Yo, KP. It's really cool that KRS doesn't hold grudges and he go back and make songs with people he had beef with, like Brother J, Wise Intelligence, and Ice Cube. Yeah, to Chris, it's all sport. So it's like you play ball against another team or somebody else. Y'all both respect each other. Y'all play hard. Y'all foul each other. Y'all play, and then afterwards you go get a beer. And then the next time you guys might be on the same team, or later on y'all might play together. I think that's how Chris looks at it. I definitely don't look at it like that, and that's why I'm not an MC. Um, but you are correct about that. Uh, let's see. Trying to move quick. I'm not falling behind today. Explicit hip hop. What's up? Uh, let's see. Silk Child 75. What's good? Um, Latrice Washington. Hey. Um, DJ Dominic. What's up? All right, I'm not that far behind right now, so I'm gonna slow down just a little bit. Icon Poet. Icon Poet. What's up, KP? What was your game like in the club? Were you hollering at the ladies? Not really hollering. I was in the club a lot. For those that are regulars of this channel, know that I hung out as much as anyone in human history could have possibly hung out in about a 15-year period, maybe more. Uh, but I was one of them dudes that was on the wall. I usually had friends with me. Sometimes I go to the club by myself, but usually I have my people with me and we just be on the wall. I was one of them dudes that was on the wall. I was never into like pulling girls' arms and stuff like that, like they used to do in the clubs. Just be pulling girls and wilding. I wasn't doing that. CMC, what up? JT, what's up? Um, let's see. MMA Crossfire, what's up? Philly Sheed, what's up? Uh, yeah, Sly and Robbie, Silent Assassin featuring KRS One. Let me talk about Sly for a second, of Sly and Robbie. I don't I use the term game changer a lot on this channel, but I'm very careful to use the word game changer because a lot of legends and even icons did not change the game. Most icons are probably game changers in a way, but most legends aren't. And most artists, it's very rare that you do something that changes the course of music history. And I'm going to say Sly and Robbie changed the game. They are as responsible for dance hall reggae as any artist that ever lived. And they made or responsible for or contributed to probably the most important reggae track, rhythm of all time. Taxi! Ba boom, ba boom, 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 ba boom. Boom, boom, y'all know, y'all all know it. So many people used it. I consider most of the dance hall rhythms are really a some kind of interpolation of that track. They may change the tempo, they may change a note, they may add a little ba boom boom instead of a ba boom. But mostly all of those, not mostly, but many of those tracks and the foundation of dance hall to me comes from that Taxi and the contributions of Sly and Robbie. And they were also great session musicians who played with giants like Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones and No Doubt and Bob Marley, and just the list is endless. And there was some controversy about them playing the bass on um, Genius of Love by the Tom Tom Club. They all were in the studio at the same time, but the young lady from the Tom Tom Club, can't remember her name, but she claims that she did play the Genius of Love bass line, but she did shout out Sly and Robbie on the song. Um, and they also produced Grace Jones, Pull Up to the Bumper. These guys were giants, and they changed the game. And one of moments that I'm most proud of my older brother, KRS-One. For those that's new to the channel, KRS-One is my brother. I have people in my comment section be saying all kind of wild stuff. Like, wow, you really look like him. You must know him well, or this dude is trying to be KRS-One. Look how you all kind of stuff I hear. KRS-One is my older brother for those that are new to the channel. Okay, one of the things I'm most proudest of him is his introduction of hip hop, of reggae dancehall into the hip hop genre. And he worked with all of the greats, not all of them, but many of them, including he produced an album with Sly and Robbie back in '89. And the question was I in the studio? Yes, I came to the studio. I wasn't in BDP yet when he was working with Sly and Robbie. I was right before I joined the group officially. But I did come to the studio, and I can't remember if I met Sly or Robbie, but one of them was in the studio when I came. And I'm gonna shout out my late great friend Willie D, rest in peace, not of the Ghetto Boys, but of BDP. Um, he did a couple of songs with Sly and Robbie, and as a matter of fact, I believe at the time Island Records wanted to offer Willie D a whole record deal after doing some songs with Sly and Robbie. But at the end of the day, he decided to stay with BDP. But um, yes, BDP did work with and produce a whole album with Sly and Robbie. So that's dope. And a giant in reggae music and music in general passed away yesterday. So rest in peace to Sly and Robbie. Sly of Sly and Robbie. Robbie already passed a few years ago, but rest in peace to Sly, who I'm gonna say is a friend of hip hop. He also produced on the score with the Fugees. Uh, and I'm gonna say is a friend of hip hop, and condolences to his family. All right, now I'm behind. Uh, Kenny, do you ever think about having a call-in show? I said I was gonna do it for the new year. Just a matter of me. Um, it's just a matter of me. It's just a matter of me getting it together. Patrick Y says, KP number 2, are you serious? Top 10, but not 2. In my opinion, these are all opinions. Everyone has entitled to their opinion. I think Michael Jordan is the best basketball player of all time, the greatest basketball player of all time. And as far as an athlete, I have Michael Jordan at 2. I have Muhammad Ali as the greatest athlete of all time, and I have Michael Jordan at 2. But now, Jordan being the greatest basketball player, I think the closest to Michael Jordan that I had ever seen is Kobe Bryant. He has all the stats to back it up. There was a time during his run where he was the best player in the league and the best scorer for a long time. He has 5 rings, 3 with Shaq, and then he won 2 without Shaq. He has every credential. And I will argue Kobe Bryant's talent and place against anybody. And you have him top 10, so you probably have at least 8 or 9 players better than Kobe Bryant. I think one, if you want to argue LeBron, you could argue LeBron, even though I have Kobe over LeBron. But these are all opinions because, like sports is the same as music. It's just an opinion. So yes, I am serious. I have Kobe at 2. Uh, Have you ever thought about getting audio too on your show? Sure, I would love to. I'm cool with Milk. Um, I saw him a couple years back. I don't have his info, but I would love to talk to him. Milk is chilling. I went to see Milk at the Latin Quarters when they first came out. CMC, once again, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. You mentioned Fife last week at an event. I'm shocked that you weren't invited to produce on his first solo project, Ventilation. Were you on tour then? Not. Don't be shocked. I mean, I knew them. I was very cool with Olive Tribe. Me and Jerobi used to hang out all the time back in the day. Uh, I was cool with Fife, Ali Shaheed Muhammad, Tip, the whole crew. Shout out to Light, their manager, the whole crew. Um, but no, I was not. I would have loved to produce on his or at least submit some tracks. Fife was actually in the studio when I was recording Heather B's album, Taking Mine album. One of the songs, I can't remember which song it was, but I know we were in D&D and Fife stopped by and was chilling in the studio for a while. He hung with us. And Fife was in the studio. We were working on something. I wish we should have asked Fife to get on the mic. He was in the studio for like 2 hours. We was bugging. We should have asked Fife to get on. But anyway, no. Uh, I was never asked to be part of that. I can't believe I'm not on the cover of Midnight Marauders either. Um, Kenny, did you shovel any snow? No. Hell no. Dre Stack Dollars, what's up? Tim Duncan is a top 10 NBA player. He's that good. I think Tim Duncan is the best power forward to ever live. I think he is absolutely a top 10 player. I probably have him. I don't know where I would put him, somewhere in the 7-8 category. Yes, Timmy D is right there. Hey, Tracy. Um, the real Chef Daddy, what up? Anthony James, what up? Will Chamberlain played with the Globetrotters, yes, when he first left college. Will Chamberlain left college early as a junior, but and back in those days, you were not allowed to play in the NBA until after your senior year. So he played 1 year with the Globetrotters. He had an awesome shot outside the arc and had handles. Um, I mean, I've seen him dribble up and down the court. I wouldn't say he had handles, uh, and he had an awesome shot. He used to have that fadeaway bank shot. Wilt Chamberlain actually had a fadeaway one-legged bank shot that looked like Dirk Nowitzki, kind of. That was money off the backboard. Um, when I was a kid, I used to study Wilt Chamberlain. I used to read all of his books. Uh, what an absolute physical specimen. And he has NBA records that will never be broken. He absolutely dominated like no one ever dominated a sport, I think. Uh, let's see. Ed Fisher says, what up, KP? You got any organized confusion stories? No. Uh, I mentioned on this channel that I'm cool with Prince Poe and Pharaoh Monch. And I mentioned on this channel that I had a nice conversation with Pharaoh Monch when he had Simon Says. Um, and I mentioned on this channel how he got sued by the owners of Godzilla movie, sued for using that music, and they took all of his money. Not only the money from that album that Simon Says is on, but the next future album that he had to record that wasn't even recorded yet, those proceeds also went to Godzilla. So sampling that song and uh Raucous Records didn't clear the sample, cost probably millions. Um, I don't think we ever did a show with the organisms back in the day. I don't even think we ever did a show with them. But I used to see, especially Prince Poe, I used to see him out and about in the clubs. Didn't see Pharoah Monch that much, but Prince Poe I used to see out and about. But I never really chilled with them except that time I said I was talking to Pharoah Monch. Uh, Brian Mitchell, what up, Kenny? R.I.P. Sly Dunbar. I had that cassette from '89 that your brother produced. Yes. Um, Verse Pro says you bought tickets to see KRS at Fort Lauderdale April 4th. Dope. Under Me Slang Tang. Yes, that is the one. That is probably the song I believe that the rhythm that introduced electronic music into dance hall. I mean into reggae, which really is the catalyst to dance hall as we know it. Was Under Me Slang Tang with the electronic do 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 that bass line. But Taxi is the foundational bass line to everything, in my opinion. Hey Kenny, did BDP ever perform in Long Island? Dozens of times. Matter of fact, uh, BDP, when before I was in the group in '88, they did the Dope Jam tour at the Nassau Coliseum, and then we did a show with Shaba. Shaba, where your brother? Yeah, I did the show. We did a show with Shaba at Westbury Music Fair. They had this spinning, and it's funny, they had this spinning stage, and it spins around. And I remember we came on stage, and the people are all around you. So you're performing not in one direction, but all around. You're in the middle of a spinning stage. And I remember I had the DJ equipment, and I remember as soon as Chris and Will got off of stage, and went to the backstage, they spun the stage while I was still on it. So now when I was trying to get off, I didn't know where the backstage was because they moved the exit. So now I'm walking through the crowd looking crazy. It took me like 20 minutes to find the backstage because they spun the stage after Chris got off. I don't know why they did that, but they did it and I was stuck on stage. But yeah, we did Westbury Music Fair. We did colleges out there. I know we did Hofstra, I think, Pace. We did a bunch of shows in Long Island. Dog Bite All Night says, "Hey Kenny, what exactly was YZ talking about when he said I like Boogie Down, but what was Chris talking? I don't know." Shout out to YZ. Keep in mind, he's one of them things where we were cool with YZ. Mad cool. He's a cool guy. And all of a sudden, dudes make records and just be taking shots. That happens so much. You see people out and about, you do shows with people, work with people, and y'all have such a great relationship. And then they get in a magazine or they get in a song and just start dissing. That's one of those moments. And for those that have not seen my KRS-One versus X Clan video on this channel, I talk about YZ because he was rolling with X Clan at the time, and he was there, part of that beef. So I don't know what he was talking about back then. But we used to love In Control of Things. We used to play that all the time, man. Beefs are so whack. Beefs are so whack. Thank you, old school fool. Tina Wayworth, Tom Club, and she was in the Talking Heads. That's right, because she was in the Talking Heads, and they had some downtime. So her and her was her husband or boyfriend at the time started Tom Club and made a monster record. I remember real quick. I had went to the basketball game in 1981. I was a Ute. to see Pearl Washington, the great Pearl Washington in high school, Boys and Girls High. They were playing, his games were so big that you couldn't have them at the regular high school. They had to have them at a college gym. So there's a college called Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, and they had the game there. And Alexander Hamilton was playing too. That school is no longer in that school no longer exists. But Pearl was playing, so I went to see the Pearl play, and there was thousands of people in the stands, all black, waiting to see this game, and they were playing music in between before the game started. And I remember somebody threw on Genius of Love. It went dun, 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 and that beat dropped. What you gonna do when you get out of jail? And the whole gym went to the ceiling. Everybody was dancing. This was like the second time I heard the record. I heard it like once, and then I heard it again at this gym, and everybody went crazy. And Genius of Love didn't sound like anything else that was out there. And the bass line was ridiculous, and the keyboards and her voice. And this was back when you didn't know what anybody looked like. You didn't know what anybody looked like. You didn't know where they were from. You didn't know if they were black or white, young, old. You just heard a song, and if you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, you didn't. I wish we can go back to that. But Video Killed the Radio Star, which is the truest song ever. But we didn't know it was a white group. We didn't know it was Talking Heads. We just knew when that record came on, it was crazy. She said some wild stuff in that record. She shouted out hip hop. She shouted out Curtis Blow, Sly and Robbie, and then she said, "We went insane when we took cocaine." Remember that? I was like, she said that in a record. Wow. Um, but yes, Tina Wayworth was the bassist. And some people say that not Sly, Robbie played the bass, but she says she played the bass, and some people helped. I'm not sure how it went down, but um, that was a gigantic record. Philly C says, "How does anybody not know Chris is your brother at this point in time? They ain't official." You should go in my comments section. You'd be amazed at the comments. Especially, like I always say, when I post beef videos, um, I get all kind of extra people, extra weirdos that are not subscribers, that don't follow the channel, that just click on beef, and they write weird stuff in the comment section. And that particular video, Karis versus X Clan, has got a gigantic resurgence this week. Thousands of views, which brought thousands of new people to the channel, and a bunch of weirdos in the comment section. A lot of them say, "You kind of look like KRS. Are y'all related? You a fake KRS. You want to be him?" Just all kind of comments. That's why, for those people who are regulars or who are hip hop knowledgeable, you might notice that sometimes I repeat myself, but we have new people to the channel, and everyone isn't as knowledgeable as you are. So I have to say things like, "Yes, KRS-One is my older brother, and I call him Chris sometimes on a channel." But yeah, a lot of people don't know that. CMC, you already know how bad it was the Aaron Hall R. Kelly beef back then. I um, don't know R. Kelly or Aaron Hall. I mean, I heard that our Aaron Hall accused R. Kelly of stealing his style, not only his vocal style, but the bald head and everything, his whole look. And I believe R. Kelly years later came back and admitted that he indeed copied Aaron Hall, um, whose vocal style sounds like to me Uncle Charlie from the Gap Band. Um, but how bad was the beef? I don't know. But I've seen Aaron Hall is wild. I remember one time I was in front of the Apollos, coming out of the Apollo Theater in Harlem, 125th, amateur night, Wednesday night, packed. If anybody that's from New York remembers amateur night at the Apollo, not the one on TV, they used to have it every week on Wednesday. All the drug dealers used to be outside with their cars. So up and down 125th was just fancy car after fancy car after fancy car. All the girls be out there. It was crazy. And I seen Aaron Hall beefing with somebody, and he ran around the corner and came back with this pit bull on a chain, on a leash. He's like, "What's up now? What's up now?" And he was coming with the pit bull at some dudes, and everybody started running. Ah! And it was like, I was like, "Who is this coming down the block with a pit bull ready to fight?" It was Aaron Hall in front of the Apollo. This had to be like 90, 91. So this had to be he had already left Guy, but he had that one big hit where the girl died in the video. So he was like a big star still. This is a little after Less Chill. So yeah, he was a big star fighting in front of the Apollo with a dog. That's the only thing I can say about Aaron Hall. I saw this. I didn't hear this. I was there. Uh, this is random. Um, Explicit says, Kenny, were you ever interested in JFK situation? Yes, I find it interesting. Conspiracies, and did you see the movie around 91, the JFK movie that Oliver Stone did? I've seen that twice. Um, I'm open to I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm open to some conspiracies are have something to it. Something smells fishy about some things. And the JFK assassination to me is very fishy. There's a lot of things that just don't sit right about that. And maybe one day we'll find out the truth after everyone dies, they'll open the files. But yeah, I saw that movie, which a lot of people say is fake and propaganda or whatever, but um I don't believe Lee Harvey Oswald was a lone gunman. I don't believe anybody is a lone gunman. Um, I think the guy who killed John Lennon may have been a lone gunman, but even that, I'm not sure. Yes, Wayne Smith, Under Me Slang Tang, Big Rhythm. Dre Stack says, I agree, MJ than Kobe. That's how I see it, but everyone, everyone has their own opinion. There's arguments for about 5 or 6 people. There's an argument for Jordan. There's an argument. I don't have Kobe at one. There's an argument for Jordan being the greatest. There's an argument for LeBron James being the greatest. There's an argument for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being the greatest. There's definitely an argument for Wilt Chamberlain being the greatest. And there's an argument, some people just count rings, which I think is stupid. But there's an argument for who has the most rings is the best, and that would be Bill Russell. So, you know, it's just an opinion. Kobe over LBJ. I think so. To me, I have thing about LeBron, no one has been this good for this long. I think the true greatness of LeBron has actually been in the last 6 or 7 years. What he's done past age like 37, 38, something like that, is what really puts him in the GOAT category to me. And he's had years where he was as good as anybody has played. He has a couple years where he played as well as anyone has ever played. But overall, I don't think LeBron James is the greatest because there's certain other things that he did. There's certain things that he did to me that takes away from his greatness, like forming super teams to win and quitting on teams and certain things like that. And two of the biggest shots of his career he didn't take. Kyrie and Ray Allen made two of the biggest shots in the history of LeBron's legacy. So, he's right up there. You could argue for him. I have him probably at 3 or 4, but this is my opinion. I definitely have Kobe over him. I do. That's just my opinion. Uh, Henry Cedillo says in 1980 they founded Taxi Records, an influential label that produced hits for artists like Shaka Demus and Pliers. Oh, they did Murder She Wrote, which to me is a spin-off of Taxi. Everything is Taxi, man. Taxi Rhythm. Annie Kamosi and Beanie Man, Sly and Robbie, R.I.P. Yes. Everything is Taxi. Sorry, that rhythm is Taxi. To me, Telephone Love, everything is a spin-off of Taxi. What a bomb, be up, Sister Nancy, all of that to me. Um, that's just my opinion. Philly She says Kobe was a hard worker and LeBron doesn't belong in a conversation with Jordan, Kobe, Magic Bird. They killers. He looks good on paper, but outside of his passing, his skill set is limited. Now he has a good. His skill set is limited relative to Jordan and Kobe. LeBron has a skill set. He's a decent shooter. He has become a better shooter over the years. I think with a full head of steam coming down the court, LeBron is the greatest to ever do it, attacking the rim. Attacking the rim with a head of steam, he's the best to ever do it. And the longevity is unmatched. I was watching something just yesterday about him, and once again, the whispers of performance enhancing. I don't want to say it too much. I don't want to accuse anybody of anything because there's no proof. But the whispers are just out there, and he has never said a word about it. Um, but for him, I saw him the other day. This is like a couple weeks ago. Go baseline and do a reverse layup with ease in a game that was ridiculous. And he's 41. I'm thinking to myself, either LeBron James is the greatest physical specimen that sports has ever seen, that is battling father time like no one ever has, or he's on something. There's one of those two. Um, but he's in the conversation with Jordan and Kobe, Magic Bird. Now he's in they are killers, by the way. I don't think LeBron is a killer. I don't think he's nasty like that. Um, I've seen him quit in games. I have. I've seen him be really quiet in games. And pouting and all that stuff. Like Jordan and Magic Bird, they didn't pout. They just tried to win everything. And they stayed with their teams. That's my thing that I respect. Even with Kobe, all of them. When they had great teams and they won, they won. And then their teams weren't great. They stuck it out and they said, this is my team. I'm going to take it out. We're going to battle until we could get back on top. They didn't, Magic didn't say, damn, my team is a little whack. Let me go join Bird. Or Jordan be like, yo, let me come to the Knicks and get down with Patrick Ewing and these dudes. And I'm going to call Karl Malone and see if he want to come. Let's just all get together. That they didn't do that. They said, I got my 5, you got your 5, let's go. But LeBron was always trying to stack the deck in his favor and then call himself the greatest of all time. For me, these narratives I have problems with. But his performances in the past few years is unbelievable. He was second team All NBA last year at 40. That's he's defying sports science right now. Last night I watched him catch like 3 dunks. I don't know. I don't know. I'm super behind, y'all. I'm super behind. Let me try to move a little quick. I'm super mad. I'm super mad. This happens to me all the time. Why no love for Robert Ory? I have tremendous love for Robert Ory. But he's a definition to me of why you can't say rings is the only definition. Robert Ory has 7 rings. And he is one of the top 3 or 4 most clutch players of all time. But he was a role player at the end of the day. on some great teams. I think Rodman has 6, right? Something like that. But Robert Ory was a role player on some teams, and he was very clutch, but he was a role player on 7 championship teams. Does that make him better than Kobe because Kobe has 5 and he has 7, so he's better? No. That's why people just go, so and so has a ring and so didn't, so and so's better. There's more to the story. So that's my opinion. El Tico Loco, long time. What's good? Patrick Wise says, I have 2 basketball lists, all-time players and greatest NBA players. MJ is number 1 on my NBA list, but number 5 on my all-time list. I can respect that as your opinion. I have MJ number 1 on any list. Any list of anything that has to do with basketball. Matter of fact, handball, Skelly, any list of anything, Michael Jordan is number 1. I watched Jordan from his freshman year in North Carolina all the way through to the Wizards. I think he's the best basketball player of all time. I do. I do. And I think there's no one else, and I think there's no one in his league, but then there's close. Rich Shot, what up? I'm about to do a scroll down in a minute because I'm so far. I saw a video about Genius of Love. Apparently, Tina Wayworth couldn't play the bass line because she got a cramp in her hand. The engineer played it instead. I saw that too. I saw that too. I've seen different accounts, but I did watch that. That her telling of it. Uh, let's see. Rich said, how come there's no video of Will's 100-point game? Because it was 1961. That's why. 1962, March 62. And I think they played in an arena, not their main arena. I think they played the Knicks. And the main arena, I think, was it a home? I forgot who was the home team, but it was not at their regular arena. It was at another arena, a smaller arena. And so I think only like 4 or 5,000 people was at this game. But it was announced on the radio, so there's a radio broadcast of it, but not that many people saw the game. Who knows? Who knew that this was going to happen on this night? Although, if you were following Will Chamberlain, he averaged 50 points a game that year. He averaged 50. That record will never be broken. He was averaging 50. He had 78, 73, 66. So he was having games like this. So it was, 100 was one of those nights. He was a bad free throw shooter, kind of like Shaquille O'Neal. But on that night, I think he made 28 out of 32. He went to the line 32 times and made 28. He has never shot like that ever again in his life. So on a given night where he went to the free throw line and turned into Steph Curry, he scored 100. And nobody knew it was going to happen some random night. And but they do have the guy, when he's holding up the 100, that famous after he scored 100, he's in the locker room and the photographer wrote down 100 points and told him to hold it up, and the photographer took the picture. So the people were there, and there's a broadcast of it. And they were trying to stall the ball so that Wilt wouldn't score 100. When he got around 90, the Knicks were trying to do everything they could to stop him from scoring 100, and he still scored 100. Did you know that Wilt averaged 48.5 minutes per game? There's 48 minutes in an NBA game, 48 minutes. He played every minute of every game. And with overtimes, he ended up averaging 48.5 minutes per game in 82 games. Never, ever, 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 ever will that happen. They won't even allow a player to play that long. Wilt never came out the game. It's crazy. He has records that are just ridiculous. And they didn't even keep block shots back then. If they had kept block shots, those records would be out of reach too. Um, El Tigo says, "Do you have any Tim Dog stories? How did Game didn't with he did a song with my brother? Yes, he did. I think Willie D hooked that up. Willie D of BDP um hooked that up with Tim Dog and KRS. Will was the middleman for that, and I think he got a big check too. I remember that Will got a big check to do that song because he bought a BMW. The money that Will got for connecting Chris and Tim Dog, which made him the executive producer, was enough to buy a BMW. I remember that because me and Will used to ride around in his BM that he got from doing that song. But he's not doing it, just connecting them. Uh Tim Dog is down with Ultra, who's down with BDP. So I used to see Tim Dog all the time. As a matter of fact, he was in the studio when I was working with Heather too. He stuck his head in. In D&D studios, everybody was in D&D. Shout out to Preem who put that studio on the map. And so everybody was in there and everybody was sticking their heads in each other's sessions. So Tim Dog came to one of our sessions. Absolutely. Uh so I seen him. I didn't see him that much, but he was cool. Um I'm super far behind. What was your favorite venue to perform at when you were in BDP? The Brixton Academy in London. First of all, Europe shows are ridiculous. Brixton Academy in London, or is it Brixton? I don't know what you call it. I think it's in London, right? Brixton Academy. Is Brixton part of London? Brixton Academy in the UK. That place and the Apollo Theater in New York Harlem are the two illest venues to perform for me. Uh, Spook Realm says, "In your face, you're happy. On vinyl, you're mad at me." That line is from, I believe, Build and Destroy on the Sex and Violence album. And that song was about X Clan. And, but that is the truest line. You have no idea how many people be in your face acting like your friends and turn around and diss you. I've seen it so many times, it's not even, boy, I could tell you guys some stories, but there's some things I'm not going to bring up because um, it's just not, it's just not good to bring up certain things at this time. My top 5 all-time basketball players are Kareem, Wilt, LeBron, Oscar, and MJ. The reason these guys are ahead of MJ is because they were great in high school and all exceeded expectations. MJ had it easy. No, easy. Well, I'm not counting high school. So yeah, I guess if you count high school, yeah. Um, Kareem, Wilt, and LeBron were the biggest high school players probably ever. Uh, or if you're counting high school, yeah. Um, I don't have Oscar Robertson over Michael Jordan in any form or fashion. He was great for his time, but not like MJ, man. Kareem's resume is as extensive as Michael Jordan's, and you can argue for Kareem, you could argue for Wilt, and you could argue for LeBron. Oscar, I wouldn't put him there like that. No disrespect to Oscar. He be on these podcasts going in on new people too. on new basketball players. Let's see. MJ didn't have a target on his back, so his rise to fame was easier with no crazy expectations. Are you kidding me, Patrick? Why? The real pressure came when he just had the stats but no rings. By this time, he was in his mid 20s. Oh, so you consider a target on your back expectations to win a championship? Well, the reason why the Bulls had the number 3 pick is because they were terrible. Um, Jordan came into the league like gangbusters. Do you remember when Jordan hit the league, averaging 28 points a game with all the dunks and the sneakers? Do you remember that? I wouldn't say he had no expectations. I guess you mean compared to LeBron James? Because LeBron James was compared to Jordan. Jordan didn't have expectations like LeBron James. I don't think anyone has ever had expectations like LeBron James. And he surpassed even what we thought he could be. But Precious to by the time his teams got good enough to compete, 3 or 4 years in, I don't know if that is a criteria to say he had it easy. He had to go through them Bulls, those the Pistons teams. I used to beat him to death. I don't know. Has anyone asked if you were Magic's brother? I hear Magic Johnson all the time. Um, let's see. I like this comment. Fresh Mike. KP, I love seeing some highlights of your set at Bryant Park. You still know how to move the crowd. Thank you so much. Yeah, we had a great time out there. 2 weeks ago, I was gonna put some footage up on this channel, but I got flagged for copyright, so I just was like, forget about it. Dre says, for the last few days, I've been going back watching your epic fail segments. We need some more, bro. They are be dope. Yeah. I keep saying I have a few that I want to record, and I keep saying I'm gonna get on it, but then other stuff. Um, let's see. Yo, Kenny, did BDP ever run up on any bootleggers? Somebody, not that, well, twice. First of all, somebody in my comments section claims that I ran up on him and when he was selling tapes, and I made him give me a tape, and then I left him alone. I don't remember that at all. He must have the wrong person because that is not even my style. Uh, but somebody wrote that in my comments section, so I'm not. Maybe it's true, but I don't remember. I would have remembered something like that. I don't remember that at all. Um, One time we were coming out of a concert and somebody was selling bootleg BDP sex and violence shirts. And we came out, we saw him. And he was just like, oh man, I'm just out here trying to make some money. And he gave us a couple of shirts and we was just like, cool. Nobody wasn't like hassling him. We just like, can we get one of those shirts? He was like, yeah. And he gave me and Will a shirt. And I was actually, it's a picture of me, Chris, and Will. The last BDP promo glossy that we ever did had me, Chris, and Will. And he took that glossy and had shirts. It was actually a shirt with my face on it. And I still have that shirt too from 1992. And he gave me a shirt. And so we didn't really run up on him. We were just walking past and there he was. I tell you, funny thing though, we were in San Francisco, I believe. Shout out to the Bay Area. And there was a mime out there with the white face and everything. We was walking from a radio station through some kind of amusement park or some kind of park in San Francisco. And there was a mime out there doing a mime, and he was playing a song off of the Ghetto Music album. And we saw him. I was like, oh, and Chris went right up to him, was like standing in his face, rapping along to the song. And the guy was staying in character. He did not break character. And then after a while, it was like he was like, okay, cool. And Chris pulled out some money and he stopped and we just started laughing. And he was like, yo, what's up, KRS? And we was just laughing. But he stayed in character. Imagine he had no idea. We was all the way across the country and just randomly cut through this park and he was playing BDP. And KRS was right there messing with him. But he didn't break. Shout out to that mime. This was also in '92. Shout out to that mime who kept it strong. I don't really stress bootleggers like that. Um, Too many people focus on the death of JFK rather than what JFK stood for. I don't know, because a lot of people were very upset. A lot of people feel like America, the direction of America changed when JFK got killed. I hear a lot of people mention that the world would have been different if JFK had lived. I've heard that enough. I see what you mean by his death is more talked about than his policies, but I've heard people really mourn that his vice president LBJ took us into Vietnam and he didn't want to go into Vietnam and things like that. So and he was going to dismantle the CIA too. Um, but I see where you're coming from with that. Uh, there's no defense now in the NBA. There's no defense because the NBA changed the rules to make it harder to play D. They changed the rules to make the offense player have more freedom of movement and easier to make shots. So even you can't play defense the way we remember it. Mike Rocks, oh, that's not the one. This one. Mike Rock says there's never been a LeBron era. This past decade has been the Curry era. LeBron had his run. LeBron was Finals MVP, regular season MVP. That's an era. I would say this decade I just passed was about the Golden State Warriors mostly, but the one before LeBron's been the face of the league for a long time. I don't know about that one. I don't know, maybe. Cutie Pie, what's up? So JFK was a womanizer. Yes, he was. Uh, One of the biggest of all time as a president that we know of. Because I'm pretty sure that after the mistakes that JFK made, other presidents after that learned from his mistake and didn't have themselves out there like that. But JFK was buck wilding, messing with movie stars and all kind of stuff. Married man. Yeah, he was out there. And this is KP. It's not just about rings for MJ. I agree with that. I'm a Chicagoan, born and raised. I'm 57, living in Cincinnati now. I agree. It's not just the rings. Because I thought he was the greatest player of all time before he won a championship. I said that's the most complete basketball player that ever lived. And I said this in the 80s. Um, Sidney Rose says LeBron is averaging 22.6 and 7 assists, shooting 50% at 41 years old. And he's actually, the past month, he's actually better than that. It's shocking what he's doing. It's so shocking that it's almost suspicious. Uh, LeBron let JJ Barea punk him when Dallas beat Miami in the finals. MJ Kobe, yeah. See, all of these things are in the mix for me. Um, all right. I don't know if De La Doyle is in the building, but we're gonna do a De La Doyle scroll down today. Wait a minute. Let me just do this real quick. Amni Hassan, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Oh man, I'm late to the show. Just now tuning in. Hey y'all. Hey, Amni Hassan. You are late, but not very late. Fashionably late. Um, I'm doing my De La Doyle scroll down right now, and I'm gonna jump in. Platforms, hey KP, LeBron does ice baths and hyperbaric chamber to help him recover after games like a 20-year-old. Helps his body recover faster. Others in the past didn't do that. Well, I guess athletes in the past didn't even have that as an option, but now a whole bunch of people do these things and they still are not LeBron. He's 40. Most athletes hit a crazy wall at like year 13 in the NBA, year 13. First of all, back in the day, by year 13, dudes were retiring at 13. You were shot. Um, but those that played past year 13, they all of them had um significant drop-offs in their physical ability, significant, like a wall. Now, granted, KD looks really good right now for his age. Steph Curry looks really good for his age too. Those two guys are playing really well for their age. Um, even Harden, the beard, these guys are also playing very well and way longer than they would have back in the day. But LeBron's athleticism at 41 is something we've never seen, man. Are you talking about straight up basketball talent or personality? I'm talking about talent. The GM is bottom 10. I wouldn't say he's bottom 10. He's done his numbers, all-time leading scorer and all this stuff. He has numbers that put him way up there. I'm not going to front on him, act like he's not in the GOAT conversation. I just don't have him at 1. I have him at like 3. But he's not. I don't have. I personally, everyone's opinion is valid. I don't have him in the bottom 10. Uh, did you ever rap Kenny? No. LeBron is literally 6'10" with sneakers on, moving like that. The messenger says that's better than the GM building a super team back in the day. You might find out you was traded on TV. Um, maybe. I mean, there's some argument to the athletes controlling their own future. I'm with that. But that super team thing that he started, because there people are gonna say, well, other people did. Karl Malone joined the Lakers when he was old, and Barkley joined with Hakeem when he was. These guys were old. They were old and teamed up at the end of their careers. They jumped on a team at the end of their careers. They were ring chasing, but these guys were old. Barkley and Karl Malone, old guys, right on their way out the door. LeBron was in his prime when he left Cleveland, and he was in the finals and lost and left. So you can't say I was not on a team that was capable of winning the championship. My team wasn't good enough. You were in the championship. Your team was good enough. You quit. He quit because I remember remember when the whole thing came out. We don't know if it's true or not. That homeboy was smashing his moms. I think Cleveland was up like 2 games to 1 or something like that. And then it came out that dude was smashing his moms, and then he just quit. He literally quit on the team. He just stopped shooting, stopped driving. I was watching them games. I'm like, yo, what is wrong with this dude? And then right after they lost, he took off his jersey and threw it, I remember, and then he was gone. See, all of these things to me are in the mix, man. When you say the greatest, DJ Joey Joe says, I say 75% of the NBA players from the mid 80s to mid 90s would dominate if they were playing in other eras. So saying LeBron is one of the greats, I disagree because he would be average in 90s. And I see Joey Joe, I don't know about that. I think LeBron would dominate. I think whatever LeBron is doing now, he would do in any era. His physical size, skill level, basketball IQ, and passing would dominate any level. And I don't think 75% of the players in the mid 80s would dominate now. I don't know about that. A lot of guys were specialists back in the day. The NBA now is more players are more skilled in that they're a jack of all trades, master of none. They dribble, they shoot, they defend, they rebound, they do a lot of different things. Um, that's why they have positionless basketball. There's 4 or 5 guys on the court, and 4 of them do the same exact thing. Where back in the day, you had a power forward who did this, and the center did this, the shooting guard did this, and the point guard did this. Now it's all blurred. But if you're a specialist right now in the NBA, like if you're just a 3-point shooter, a 3-point specialist, I don't think you could make it in the NBA right now. Maybe shooting always helps. Maybe. I think if you were great in the 80s and 90s, you would be great now. And I think if you were great now, you probably would be great in the 80s and 90s. I just think your numbers would come down. I think dudes averaging 30 right now would be averaging like 22 just because of the physicality and the rules. The rules have changed. That's why you got like 6 guys averaging 30 points a game right now. That's unheard of. I remember when 27, 28 points a game led the league in scoring. Now you got 6 guys averaging 30. That's the rules changes. And if you take some of these guys and you put them back, like you take SGA and put him back in the day, well, he's not getting these calls that he gets and the freedom of movement. He would still be tough. But would he be averaging 32 points a game? I don't think so. He'd probably be averaging 24 points a game, something like that. That's just my opinion. The messenger, maybe you can come to Philly and do a 45 set. That would be fantastic. If somebody books me, I'm not on the plane, I'll be on the train. Um, I'm not that far behind. Just Swagger says they got the moon landing, but not Wilt's 100 points. You know the problem is you needed a cell phone. You need an iPhone in 1961. How many times has history happened in these days spontaneously? And because we had phones, we were able to catch it. The NBA wasn't even that big in 1961. I think the Knicks got bumped out of, what was the reason they got bumped out of their home? It was like an ice skating bumped the NBA out. It was something like ice skating bumped the NBA out of the arena, so they had to go to a smaller spot. It was some story like that. The NBA only had 8 teams. The NBA wasn't as popular then as it is now. And so a random game on in March, the Knicks and Philadelphia, I think it was Philadelphia, he was on Warriors. Nobody was filming. And this dude who's averaging 50 caught fire and had 100. I think averaging 50 is more unreachable than scoring 100. I think someone could score 100. I think a dude like Wemby, who I made great on this channel for those that know, um, and I see him reverting back to his old ways too, by the way. Somebody like Wemby catches absolute fire one night and plays 40 something minutes. A guy like that could do it. We've had some 70-point games lately. Um, Luca had 73 a couple years back. Uh, with the 3-pointer, somebody could mess around and hit 20 of them. Something crazy like that. It could happen. I think 100 points is closer to happening than somebody averaging 50. There's no way. Wilt's game was in Hershey, Pennsylvania. That's right. And there was a reason why the game, thank you, Boom Bap. There was a reason why the game was there because there was a reason it got bumped out. That wasn't their arena. I think it was ice skating. Do I think Bernard King was an underrated player? He's one of my favorite players of all time. I'm probably number one. Um, Underrated in this day and age, yes, they don't mention him the way they should. It's because he blew out his knee. In his prime, before he blew out his knee, he was a top 5 player in the league, probably a top 3 or 4. Um, yeah, I'm gonna say he's underrated now. He doesn't get mentioned the way he should. The game was in the middle of Pennsylvania and a home game for the Sixers. Okay, it wasn't the Philadelphia Warriors. He was on. No, I thought it was the Philadelphia Warriors. It was the Sixers. And Wilt scored 100 points. In the middle of Pennsylvania somewhere. Bernard King would average 40 today. Well, there's no Bernard King posted up a lot. There's not really a lot of post ups. And Bernard King he took 2 dribbles and was up. And he shot a lot of mid-range shots, which by today's standards they would not like. But yeah, I think Bernard King would be murder in by today's standards. Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. Um, let's see. And after Wilt scored 100, he bagged 10 chicks afterwards. Probably. He said he was partying all night the night before. He said he was tired. But you know Wilt gonna add some gas to the story. But he said he was partying the night before. And he was partying the night before and was tired. Had 100. Go ahead, Wilt. Mr. Boricua, thank you so much for your contribution to the channel. Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, P. Vlad said Nas and Preem was whack, and Ari Spears, whatever his name is, agreed with him. Is it time for hip hop to cancel these 2 bozos? He said Ice Cube was whack too. He's entitled to his opinion. I'm not a fan of either. Well, Vlad, I don't have any opinion with Vlad either or. Like he's a good interviewer. We talked about him before. I think he's a very good interviewer, but he seems out of touch with hip hop. Excuse me, he seems out of touch with hip hop sometimes. He seems out of touch with the culture, and he name drops a lot. But if he thinks Nas and Preem is whack, that's his opinion. Um, Ari Spears, see, certain people to me just go around disrespecting people. Yo, there's big money in disrespect on the internet. I talk about that a lot. There are people on this channel, not this channel, on this sphere, this social media sphere, that are making hundreds of thousands, even millions, and all they do is go around dissing people. And they get paid to come on these channels and diss. That's what you want. And that's not what I'm into. So my channel will only ever get so big because I'm not into disrespect. But that is what sells. And people make whole blogs. My take on so and so. Who gives a fuck about your take? Who are you? But at the end of the day, take all of these people with a grain of salt. Uh don't lose any sleep over if these people who are not part of the culture that we grew up in think it's whack. That's okay, cool. That's your opinion, cool. I'm not trying to cancel somebody for their opinion. I'm trying to cancel people when they say really hurtful and racist, sexist, derogatory things. That should get you not canceled, but that should get you put on timeout. I think canceled is when you do stuff like Me Too movement type stuff. Uh, Hurting people, doing crimes like that, physically hurting people, that's cancel worthy to me. An opinion, I'll just click to another channel. So, I've seen Ari Spears say some horrible things, especially about women and how they look. Like, who are we to judge how somebody looks, man? Like, horrible stuff like that. I don't know, but that's the clicks that come with that is how you get money. And if you're trying to do anything to eat, you will say outlandish stuff. I know, matter of fact, there's things I could say right now on this channel that I think would eventually go viral. And there's stories that I could tell right now on this channel that I know for a fact would get 1 million views. But I'd rather stick to my brand of presentation and my integrity than chase that. But a lot of people are not like that. You gotta understand, people get paid big money and flown out to come on these platforms and say ridiculous stuff. I love Ice Cube music. I don't know Ice Cube at all. Never met him, don't know him from Adam. But I follow his career and I think he's great. He can never be whack. Even if he makes music that we don't like now, his legacy, along with Nas and Preem, are so solidified that they don't even have to they have enough money and credentials that they don't even have to make music. And yet they choose to make music for the people that follow them. And I'm happy that they choose to do it. Please make more. That's my opinion. And since I've been talking, we have 60 comments. There's no way I'll ever keep up. So I'm gonna just move on. Boom Bap says Tim Dog was corny as fuck. I don't know. I thought he was all right. Therefore, I can say, did Tim Dog get pushback from the West Coast F Compton? As I heard it, the West Coast loved that song. Only people that didn't like it was Compton. As I heard it, there's other people from other parts of the West Coast that was F Compton too. So I've seen him do interviews where he said he got a lot of love. Um, yes, Tech Vision. Yes, Kenny Brixton is in South London. Thank you. I knew it was in London, but I wasn't sure because I always get the UK, Britain, England, like all of that to me, I get mixed up. Like I don't know what's the UK and what's England and Britain. Like, what's the difference? Like, not being from there, I get confused. I wonder why Cosmo D isn't talked about more. Cosmo D from Jam on It, Nucleus? Is that the Cosmo D we're talking about? I don't think he gets mentioned more because he didn't have as many hits. Divine Flow says, were you at the Arsenio Hall All Star Hip Hop when ODB said the black man is God? No, I was not. I was not there. Kenny, who is the most underrated ball player? Penny Hardaway has skill. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's great and got hurt. Same with like Grant Hill. These guys are on their way to incredible greatness and they got hurt. To me, underrated means somebody should be considered higher, but they're not. I don't know. The most underrated. That's a tough one for me. I'd have to really think about that. You mean because you have to go all the way back. For someone that's great that doesn't get their just due. I think just about everybody in the NBA is pretty much on the tier that they should be on. I think Bernard King should got mentioned more, but he got hurt. And even when he came back, he was still an all-star, but he wasn't an all-pro like he was before. That's a great question. Somebody like Joe Dumars to me is crazy underrated. Guys like that, guys that were great on championship level teams, but they sacrificed their game for the good of the team. You know, a Manu Ginobili type guy. Those are the underrated guys to me. 29L, what's up? Hey, Kenny, when you have a studio session, is it cool with you when people stick their head in or does it bother you? No, it's cool. Um, it's cool. Especially when you know somebody, you didn't know they were there and they stick their head in. A lot of times people don't want other people to hear what they're working on. So, you know, you working on a little gem, you don't want the competition to hear what you're doing. So it's that. And sometimes you could get distracted. Somebody stick their head in your session and then y'all get to talking. Keep in mind, these sessions are $100, $150 an hour. And so you get to reminiscing with your boy. It could cost you $150 out your budget. Um, but no, when people used to, quite a few people have stuck their heads into sessions that I was working on. From Dougie Fresh, I mentioned Tim Dog, I mentioned Fife, Bow-Legged Lou. I'm just thinking of sessions that I was in that people just stuck their heads in. And I've stuck my head in many a session. Um, I think it's cool. No, it doesn't bother me. I think it's cool. Tim Duncan is the most underrated. Nah, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He has like 4 rings. He's widely considered the greatest power forward ever. He just wasn't flashy. He's not #1 selling jersey type player. But I think people know who Timmy D is. He was great, man. Alex English underrated. He doesn't get mentioned as much as he should have. In them 80s, the 80s had probably the best small forwards ever between Bernard, Dominique, Alex English, Adrian Dantley, Mark Aguirre. Every night at the small forward position was a guy averaging like 25. Dr. J, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen. These guys were murder. MK Ultra, KP, three questions. Audio book, still cleaning it up. Almost. I'm right there. Hopefully this week I will be finished and then I can submit it. Upcoming guests, I don't like to say stuff until it's solidified, so still working on that. But yes, uh, once I finish the audio book, I'll have time to do other stuff like more epic fails and the guests and all that other stuff. And we your brother. I gotta put a call into Chris. I keep saying he's on the road, but I need to talk to him. So yes, that's a good reminder. Jordan showed his true colors once he dissed the little boy who wanted to take a picture. I've seen LeBron do that. I've seen quite a few people do that. Um, Not defending Jordan. I didn't see that, but I heard Jordan was not a nice person off the court. I heard he was a nice person on the court. That doesn't take away from his greatness. That just means he was probably an asshole in real life. But I don't know Jordan, but we've heard enough stories to know that he's not pleasant if he doesn't know you. If you're not in his clique, he's not pleasant. That's what they say. I don't know. Um, Plus, you don't know what's going on in somebody's life when you run up on them. Once again, artists, athletes, movie stars, they don't owe you a picture. They don't owe you an autograph. They don't owe you anything when you see them. These are these are nice gestures that people do that we now take for granted. The only thing an artist owes you is if he makes an album, you go out to the store to buy it and you hope it's quality. He owes you the music. If he says he has an album, it's some music, it's him singing on it. If an athlete comes to you buy a ticket to see your athlete play, he shows up and he tries to win the game. That's all he owes you. He doesn't owe you to sign his ticket stub. He doesn't owe you any meet and greets. He owes you to come to the game, try to win. You see a movie star out and about, movie star doesn't owe you anything. They just owe you a movie. Are you going to be in said movie and can you give us your best acting performance? That's all they owe you. So, yeah, we see people and it's nice when you see somebody you like and they sign an autograph or they take out time for you. That's nice. And these are the people that made you what you are. But at the same time, people be going through a lot. Somebody could have just lost their a gig. Somebody could have lost millions of dollars. Wife could have thrown them out in the street. Who knows what's going on? And then you bump into them. Or some paparazzi could have just climbed in their window and was taking pictures of them while they were in the shower. And then they are so pissed off, and then you bump into them saying, "Can I have a picture?" And then you might just catch a bad one. I mean, I've seen it, I've been around it. Um, I think a lot of people think that because they buy a product, you are owed other things. These are nice gestures. I mean, he could have treated the little kid better, but at the same time. Random question, Kenny. Thank you, I'm Amni Hassan again. But Kenny, do you remember where you were the morning 9/11 happened and what were you doing that morning? Wow, that is real random. Yes, I do. Um, I usually sleep with the TV on, not as much as I do. I don't do that much now, but back in the day, I used to sleep with the TV on. And only two times in my life, something happened that woke me up out of my sleep. And it was because the way the news, used to sleep with the news. I used to doze off to the news. But the way the announcers were talking was so different and more frantic that it woke me up. And that only happened twice. The first time, I believe, is when they snatched Elian Gonzalez. Or was that after 9/11? I can't remember which, that was before. Remember Elian Gonzalez? Remember the whole thing with the Cuban taking that little boy back to Cuba? I remember being asleep and it was like, they came in the night and they snatched Elia Gonzalez, and it was a big thing, and that woke me up out of my sleep. That and 9/11. I was living in Jersey City at the time, which is right across the water from New York. And when the second plane hit, the way they were talking on the news woke me up out of my sleep. And I'm a person that took the PATH train. For those that don't know, there's a train called the PATH train that goes from World Trade Center, under the World Trade Center, to New Jersey, back and forth. And I could have been on that train that morning, but thank goodness I was not. I was home sleep, and that woke me up out of my sleep. Two planes have hit the World Trade Center, and I can see the World Trade Center from my front steps. So I went out of my apartment to my front steps, and all you could see was smoke and helicopters. There was like 20 helicopters in the air and just a bunch of smoke. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And I was glued to the TV like everybody else. And then when the tower fell, it broke my heart because you just knew there was people in there, and it just broke me. I think I was talking to a woman who was about 80 years old a few years ago. Um, Shout out to my homegirl Allison. I was talking to her mother a few years back, and she's 80. And I was saying, you lived through so many crazy events. What's the wildest thing you ever saw in your life? Like, you lived through Kennedy getting shot, Martin Luther King. You saw a man walk on the moon. You did Vietnam. You did Watergate. You did Reagan. Cause like you did all of these things. And we were talking about what's the craziest thing you ever saw in your life. And for me, watching the World Trade Center towers fall is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. And it still is unbelievable. It's so unbelievable that you still can't believe that it happened. And there's some conspiracy theories in that too. Something's fishy about that too, but I'm not going to go there today. But those two towers falling and living 3 miles away, and the train that I used to take back and forth was totally destroyed for like 2 years. They had to rebuild the whole thing. And I'm still over there all the time, World Trade Center. And yeah, what I was doing, I was sleeping and was woke up out of my sleep. That was a very random question, but great question. Um, uh, the Bird Magic rivalry carried over to the NBA. The Bird Magic rivalry saved the NBA. The NBA was in big trouble in 1980. Teams were folding, empty arenas. See, we see the NBA now and think it was all good. The NBA in the 80s was struggling. 75% of the league was on drugs. The NBA was in big trouble. And that Magic Bird rivalry came to the NBA and took it to another level. And then Jordan came. And shout out to David Stern, who was smart enough to capitalize on all of it. And we have the NBA as we know it today. All right. Oh shoot, it's 9:33. For those that are new to this channel, you know what that means? We are in overtime. It's almost not even overtime because we go over every show. Um, we usually go from 8 to 9:30. For those that's new, this is the Kenny Parker Show. We go from 8 p.m. to 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday and Fridays. Anytime we go over 9:30, it is considered overtime. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and get some last few comments in. I'm just to skip 60 comments. And um, Kenny, is it dissing or criticism? Why us rap musicians DMSL? I don't know what that means. Dissing or criticism is a fine line. Spook Realm says that was a BDP medallion moment. I had a rant. Uh-oh. Rich shot or calling somebody a nobody. Yeah, I don't like that either. I don't like, what else I don't, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about right there, but you know what I don't like when somebody says so-and-so isn't relevant. anymore. This person isn't relevant. This person is washed. I don't like those kind of terms. People will always be relevant. There are songs that play as much as new music is right now that will always be relevant. People sample, if you sample somebody else's stuff and but they're not relevant, but you are, but you sample them, like there's a lot of things that to me I don't understand is relevant. Um, but I don't know, there's a lot of disrespect. Mike Rock said these Vlad TV guests get a strong 4 figures to 5 figures to go on Vlad podcast. Yes, they do. And they feed him info to ask during the podcast. That's why it seems like he's the police. I know for a fact that these people are getting paid, and for your dollars, we need something to go viral so I can make this money back. Let me shout out anyone who's ever come on the Kenny Parker show and talk to me because I've never paid anyone. The people that's come on this show are just my friends, and I'm so thankful that they took out the time to talk to me and give us knowledge because we don't even have that kind of budget here. Um, but it's cool. Yeah, people get paid big money but when I give you 4 figures, 5 figures, you better say something crazy. Why isn't Digital Underground mentioned in the top 5 rap groups of all time? I think because honestly, I don't think they are a top 5 rap group of all time. They're a great group, but I wouldn't have them as that. Corey Flood, Kenny, why are rap musicians so sensitive that no one can share their opinion and say someone's music is doo-doo? See, Corey Flood, you, I don't believe in doo-doo. Nobody's music is doo-doo. That is a disrespectful term. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but there's no such thing as doo-doo art. It's somebody's art. You know, I don't know if you have ever made a song or made anything or created something from scratch to know how much time and energy goes into creating a song and an album, and how much to really make something good you have to give of your own self, dig something deep and give it to the people, and for someone to come along and say it's doo-doo. That is so disrespectful. I don't think these are people being sensitive. I think it's people being disrespectful to other people's art. If you don't like it, you don't like it. I don't like it. I didn't like this, so it's not for me. Or, I'm not buying it. I'm gonna change the channel or whatever. But just to blatantly disrespect somebody's stuff, I'm not with it, man. I never will be. Just disrespect, just because you can. And that's what's whack about social media. Anybody is allowed to diss anybody. People that are 35 years old that never moved out of their mama house can make a comment about a self-made millionaire, and millions of people will see that comment, including the person that you're talking about. I think that's whack. Who are you, man? Who are you? You have a right to your opinion, but you don't have a right to be disrespectful of people just because they're stars. I see people wish death on people and wish people get hurt just because you don't like their movie or their song. You wish death on them, or we like to see people fail. Like you happy when somebody's marriage fails and so is from the hood and they made it out the hood with their own talent and they became rich and then they lost it all trying to make their friends happy, and now they're back in the hood and people laughing and they happy to see them back in the hood. That's terrible. That's terrible. We should be better than that. And I don't know if back in the day was different because we didn't have social media, but I just don't remember us hating Marvin Gaye, Diana Ross, Michael Jackson and Prince, and the hatred. Maybe because there was no outlet for the haters. The haters had nowhere to go like they do now. But we loved these people. We loved our celebrities and we loved our people that made it big. We didn't wish them to fall off. I don't know, man. I disagree with all that, man. B-Boy Jones is KP. You have now made 300K subs. Congrats. Thank you so much. Thank you to the 30,000 people that have subscribed to the Kenny Parker Show. That is fantastic. We got a little community here, and we just talk hip hop. We talk sports. We talk about a lot of different things, and we like-minded people to come on here and spread love. Spread love is the Brooklyn way. We need more love on social media, not just hatefulness. Let's see. Paul Roberts says, I don't think Ice Cube is whack, but a lot of East Coast people don't understand having Ice Cube or Andre 3000 on their best lyricist list. I don't know why that would be, because I think both of them are great. Sidney Rhodes says, I didn't say it, but Sidney Rhodes said it, so maybe y'all listen to him and not me. Please hit the thumbs up button. We are in overtime. This is the Kenny Parker Show. Um, Patrick White says, nobody says worse things about women than Corey Holcomb. Nobody since Rodney Dangerfield. I took my wife to a dog show and she won. Yeah. Rodney Dangerfield used to have the great one-liners. These are comedy shows, and he's talking about his wife. That's funny. But there are people who say really bad things about other celebrities. These are real people that did nothing to you. And you just diss them to make yourself feel better. Like, it's horrible, man. Let's see. Paul Roberts says, anyone know what happened to Crazy Sam from Video Music Box? He was fired. Yeah, that's a New York question. Didn't he pass away? I thought Crazy Sam passed away. I used to see Crazy Sam was always cool. I used to see him out and about. He used to be at the Apollo all the time. I seen Crazy Sam scared a whole Apollo crowd one time. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it today. Oh, man. Let me go all the way to the bottom. To the bottom, to the bottom, to the top, to the top. Cool. It's 3 o'clock. Thank you so much, Rodden Dirty Face. What up? Thank you. Peace, KP. What do you think about Ludacris dropping out of that country tour? Dude has a hustle. I respect. Just curious on your thoughts if you have any. Yeah, I think wasn't it is it Kid Rock's tour that he's dropped out of? I briefly saw that. Something like Kid Rock is doing a tour and Nelly is part of it and Ludacris was part of it. And I think Ludacris was not aware that of what he was getting into because Kid Rock has been very vocal about his political stance and his policies. And so if you don't agree with his policies and uh what his the concert stands for, you pull yourself out. I have no problems with that. And if you do agree with it, you perform. Kid Rock, I guess Ludacris first agreed to do it. Then people started dissing him, and he was like, "You know what? I don't need this," and he backed out. Kid Rock has been very, very, very vocal about his political beliefs. So some people just don't care. I'm trying to get my money, and I'm out, and that's your prerogative. Ludacris uh, chose to stick by their convictions. Lindell says, KP, my best friend worked at Midway Airport in Chicago back in the late 80s. Yeah, he said MJ was an asshole, but he's still a GOAT. It's okay. Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus. Even in the movie, in the documentary, The Last Dance, it was considered that he was a very tough teammate to be around. Very tough. Um, Ice Cube and James Brown says that they are obliged to fans that buy their records and come to their shows. I mean, everyone has their own different. Um, everyone has their own different opinions of the reaction, the interaction between celebrity and fan. I don't like the word fan, but celebrity and fan. I just feel like sometimes celebrities forget where they came from and who put them where they are. And sometimes fans have too much expectations of what they're supposed to get from a celebrity. This is funny. This is the funniest thing I've seen on here. Boom Bap says Ilian Gonzalez's auntie had them yams. I don't remember that, but that's hilarious. The fact that you remember that 30 years later is mad funny. Oh my goodness gracious. Um, I'm still not at the bottom. There's so many. I'm not going to be able to get to all the comments today. I'm gonna look at some of them when I get off. But we're in overtime, y'all. This has been a great live. We had a lot of people talking on here, and big up to the Rewind crew who's gonna check this out later. Yeah, Patrick White says haters have always been around but had no voice or platform back in the day. Now some people just want attention and clicks to feel relevant. Some real depressed people out in this world. Yes, there's some real depressed, nasty, evil people who get off on hurting other people. Trolls. They're called trolls. I have a bunch of them in my comment sections saying all kind of outlandish stuff, man, for no reason. Just to try to hurt people, but we there were haters back in the day, but I just don't remember. Even like as a kid or a teen or a young adult, and you hear that people talking about other artists, we were in awe of people. We didn't hate them. We were in awe of people that were on TV and that made songs and movies. We were in awe. I never just heard hate. The hate that comes Twitter, if you go, Twitter is probably the nastiest place on earth. Twitter is horrible. Horrible place. Sin, thank you so much. Congratulations. Yes, 30,000. Thank you guys, especially the people that's been down from the very beginning. Rod Lex 8109. Kenny, were you there when My Philosophy beat was made? No, I was not. I heard that song for the first time on the radio. Sydney Rose says, is Nelly still on the bill? I do believe he is on the bill still. Rodden Durfus says, I don't care. I respect it. Ludacris gets money for sure anyway. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into what you can have any political affiliation or any kind of policies you want. Stick to your policy. If someone is presenting something that you don't feel goes with your beliefs, then you could kindly decline. Now, some people are not financially in a position to decline. There's a lot of artists that are broke, and you got to get a check any which way you can to feed your babies. You got your kids at home and their stomach is growling. They don't care about your political beliefs. They hungry. And so sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But if you are financially secure as an artist and you can pick and choose what to do, I respect Luda, man. Jeff Rock says, I saw stuff about Kid Rock and I think he is a racist. I'm gonna leave that right there. Kid Rock used to be down with D Nice and them. When Kid Rock's first deal was through shout out D Square and Sidney Mills of BDP had a deal through Jive and they signed Kid Rock, I believe, as their first artist. And he used to roll with D Nice for a minute. And Kid Rock is a great DJ too. And now he just, I don't even know if he even listens to hip hop anymore. Jack Swagger says MJ will tell you he's an asshole. Leave the girl alone. All right, I'm jumping off, y'all. I think Lord Jamar is trying to make a living being an online contrarian. I don't know if that's true or not. I know there's a lot of money in that. There's a lot of money in that. I know some people that are contrarians. They're so annoying. I don't like something just because everyone else likes it. I don't like something just because I'm going to make an opinion that's just not popular just because. Like that's corny to me. If you like something, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But don't not like something just because it's popular. That doesn't make sense to me. That means you have no real opinion. Your opinion is based on other people's opinion. And the only thing you like is what the only thing you dislike is what other people like. You don't even have an opinion. You just wait for somebody to like something so you can not like it. That's corny. Yes, Van Davis, we said RIP Sly and Robbie. Well, Robbie already passed, so RIP to Sly and condolences to his family. Yes, we talked about him, a game-changing reggae artist. We talked about him earlier. I think I'm gonna leave on this question. Boom Bap says, "Are people's lives that miserable?" And the answer, I believe, is yes. There are a lot of miserable, miserable, miserable people in this world. We all have people that we know that are just toxic. That as soon as they come in a room or come around, they find a way to cause chaos and discontent and drama. Those same people go online and cause drama. And they sit back and watch the drama unfold in the comment section and they sit there, look what I've caused, and they feel great. A lot of people's lives are that miserable. And thankfully I don't feel that way. But that's why I say even Jesus had haters. It's been around since the beginning of time. Get used to it. Cain and Abel, uh Cain killed Abel. I think Cain killed Abel, right? Brother was hating. You're right. Hate has been around since the beginning. But it's very hard to get used to when you have good intentions and when you minding your business and you ain't bothering nobody and somebody come and mess with you. That's when it's very hard to get used to. When you just minding your business, as we were taught as kids. Remember your mama tell you, mind your business. And then someone comes along and tries to bully you. That's when it becomes hard to deal with. Um, all right, I'm going to jump off. I see a very sexual comment on this channel. Once again, I'm going to say this might be my last time. Please refrain from making sexual comments on this channel. We have ladies on here, and we're trying to encourage more ladies to come on. And so I don't want to offend ladies with any of these comments, or men, or anybody. We're trying to keep this channel at a certain level. Please refrain from making sexual comments. We just got a bunch of chats, so I'm going to read these real quick and then I'm going to jump off. Oreo 1873. KP can't wait for that audio book. Great show, bro. I'm working day and night on every sentence to make sure it's clean and nice. It's coming. Thank you. Omni. Yep, I just recently had that conversation with a friend. Like, man, back then we liked pretty much everything, and everything was special pretty much. I don't even remember having much of an opinion then. Yeah, well, first of all, things were great back in the day and new. Everything was new to us. A lot of stuff was new, but we loved the television. We watched crazy shows, just ran. We watched Gilligan's Island and Dukes of Hazzard, just stuff, and we just watched it and we enjoyed it. We wasn't having opinions like that. You're right. We didn't have a lot of opinions on stuff. We were doing stuff. We was outside. I like that comment. You're right. We didn't have a lot of opinions on stuff. But I hate sounding like that old guy, but it's true. Riding Dirty Face, love and respect to the hip hop nation, has no location. Peace to terrestrial and non terrestrial heads. We will be here forever. I agree with that. Has no location peace to the terrestrial and non terrestrial heads. Yes, we need more love in this world. I'm going to leave it on that. All right, y'all. I'm jumping off. God willing, I will be back. We will be back on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Rest in peace to Sly of Sly and Robbie. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace. And what did he say? Love, peace, and soul. What did he say? Soul Train? Anyway, I'm rambling. All right. Peace.